Welcome to the Shootin The Que podcast presented by Heath Riles Barbecue with tips, tricks, and an inside look at some of the top pitmasters in the game. Now here's your host, Heath Riles.
Welcome back to another episode of Shootin The Que. Today I'm joined with my lovely wife Candace and Mr. Kevin Grothe of Memphis In May. How are you doing today?
Great. Wonderful to be with you too.
Well, just so everybody that knows, you are the VP of Memphis In May now. Can you kind of tell everybody kind of what that job entails?
Well, as you know, we're pretty lean and mean, so it might mean cleaning the portalettes, it might mean hauling some boxes, it might mean dealing with a six-figure sponsor. So I guess the extreme from one to another, it's kind of like being a independent business owner, right?
Well, exactly. It might be a Sam's Club run or a toilet cleaning. That's exactly right. Well, Kevin, are you excited about this year's Memphis in May because it's here?
Yeah, it is. It is right around the corner. We are so thrilled for this year's because I think knowing that we have a stable home, a location, helps us from a planning perspective. I think it also helps teams and consumers and volunteers and all the different constituents from that standpoint. But we've got a lot of new things that we're adding to our repertoire of the 47th edition of the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest. So when you combine some new twists along with what has worked for us for nearly 5 decades, really does generate a lot of excitement for the upcoming event.
Oh, I'm sure. Memphis in May has got deep roots in the community, and we've seen that throughout the last few years. What first drew you to the organization and its mission?
You know what's funny? When I first came to Memphis, it was 1996. It was May 1st. I will never forget this. I didn't come to Memphis until May 1st. 2 weeks later, I got invited down to a team booth like almost anybody who's to Memphis, right? And this particular booth, it was G&W Diesel, Bobby Wharton, and he had taken a fire truck and converted it to his smoker. I went down there that night, and this was before cell phones were as popular and all of that, right? But I remember looking around just mesmerized by the spectacle of the event in 96. So when the opportunity arose 10 years later to be a part of the organization, I said to myself, do I give up 1 or 2 fun nights that I have down at the event for a career? And it was an easy decision to do because not only is the event first class and so well respected, the entire festival and organization, I think, has a lot of respect, not just locally, but I'm always amazed when I'm talking to people all over the country and how revered Memphis in May is. And, that's a good feeling to be a part of something that has such a positive impact for decades.
I agree. And a lot of people that's not been involved with it, I got asked some questions today actually by someone that want to know kind of how the judging worked, right? And I was like, in order to win, a lot of people don't realize you've got to get up to, it's 4 to 6 judges in the blind, right? 3 on site, and then 4 more in finals, and they all have to agree that your flavor is really good and your tenderness is really good. So it's a lot more than what people can envision goes into it when you talk about your friend having a fire truck and everything like that and what all went into it. It's just so much how big it can actually be.
And I don't think people realize how narrow a margin there can be from a first place to even a 10th place, right?
So less than a point. I've been at 8th or 9th, and it'd be less than 3/4 of a point separating the winner.
Yeah.
And so it's a tough pill to swallow at the end of the day, and you almost have to be perfect. And we've seen it many years where you had to be perfect even to make finals, and sometimes there was an odd man out.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And I know the scoring system, y'all changed that a little bit, added another decimal, and that kind of helps.
Yes.
With
it helps
those smaller tiebreakers.
It does help with the tiebreaker system.
So I'm going to back up a little bit before we get really into that. So you went to the University of Iowa.
Yes.
And then you came to Memphis.
Yes.
So were you originally from Memphis, or what brought you to Memphis initially?
Yeah. So I grew up in Iowa, as you said, went to school, got a start in a career in college athletics, moved to Ohio. Then I came down to Memphis at the university. And so that's what brought me down here. And the good Lord connected me with a good Southern girl from North Mississippi. And here I am 30 years later, right? So I really love being in the Memphis area. I think having grown up in Iowa, even my wife, Betty, will tell you when she goes home to Iowa, it makes her think of Memphis and North Mississippi. And I think it's the hospitality that most people carry amongst themselves, people who care. And so I've fallen in love. I never would have imagined that I'd be here this long. I never would have imagined I'd be at Memphis in May. This will be my 19th festival. So wow. It's the longest place I've ever lived, and it's the longest place that I've ever worked at. So obviously it was meant to be, and couldn't be more thrilled, Candace.
Wow.
So how would you say that you made the jump from college athletics to Memphis in May? Well, what was that transition like for you?
You know, there was a little transition because every organization has its own nuances, and you kind of got to feel your way through it when you first come in. And that, I think that's true of any job, even if it's in the same field, right? I think, and it's probably best to kind of come in, do more observing than doing, I think, right out of the box. And so that's kind of the approach I took. My philosophy, no matter where I have worked, I treat it like if it was mine, that kind of passion. I can remember when I would go from one university to another. Every university is very proud of its alumni, right? And one of the places that I worked at was Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. And they used to call people Miami men, right? You're not a Miami man. And by the time I had left there 8 years later, there were so many people who would say, now, you actually graduated from Iowa. I thought you graduated from Miami, because I had ingrained myself so much into it. And so I've tried to do the same thing here at Memphis in May, whether it's about the music or the barbecue. I didn't know anything about barbecue when I first started. Not, by no means am I qualified to compete at that level, but I know enough to be able to converse about it now, visit with sponsors, visit with teams and volunteers and those who play such an integral part in the whole event itself.
Well, being that you have been there, this will be your 19th year, you said.
Yeah.
How have you seen it change? And I mean, in a way, for the good.
Yeah.
How have you seen it change and twist in a way? Because there's bumps in every road, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, there's, whether it's economy or whatever, right? There's going to be some pivots that need to take place and such. I think here in recent time, as far as the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest is concerned, I think we've realized that we need to be a dual event. And what I mean by that is we still embrace and never, ever want to change from being one of the, if not the most prestigious barbecue contest out there, right? So without taking anything from that, how can we evolve the event to where there's this consumer side? Because the whole industry of barbecue, and you all know this, so many people want to be really good at barbecue. I'll never forget, I've been at those barbecue classes that different grill manufacturers may put on, right? And they'll ask people, how many of you want to compete in barbecue? And virtually no one raises their hand. But when you ask them who wants to have the best barbecue in their neighborhood or in their family, I mean, hands go flying up in the air. And to me, that was eye-opening, and started to work with our sponsors to create programs and elements, because there is a huge hunger, and no pun intended, but there is a big market for that. People want to know how I can do it in my backyard and just serve just mouth-watering barbecue. So for us, not ignoring that aspect of it, I think is really important. And it's been a slow transition towards that. But I think in the last 10 years, we've made tremendous strides in trying to be more consumer friendly, and without taking away from the prestige of the competition itself.
Well, I think y'all have done a great job of that. I mean, in this year, I'm kind of skipping ahead some, but y'all have added the SCA contest to pull in some more teams and another aspect of it. And do you want to elaborate on anything else?
The kids.
The kids. First year, and it all started last year. We just did some kids demos that you two both helped support, and we just did 3 demos on a couple of different days, right? We kind of just dabbled with it. We wanted to keep it pretty simple, basic. And there was a vice president from a food product who happened to be in our VIP area. After the event, he and I connected on a Zoom call, and he said, the best food I ate came from one of those demonstrations, right? And again, you get these light bulb moments, and you knew that the whole youth movement was really growing. And I think the industry needs it, right? There's, like any industry, you have those who kind of got it started, those who've helped move it along, and then you kind of, all of a sudden you realize, oh, we need some new generations of influence in it, right? And so we decided to do our own junior contest, and we're still doing the demos. That's not going to change, but we added a junior contest, and we're excited. 21 teams from like 5 or 6 different states. We've got 4 from the Memphis Shelby County school system who are competing in it as well. So you got the local ties, you got teams from Texas and Oklahoma and Missouri and I think Pennsylvania. I mean, it's remarkable. Wow. And we've had great corporate partners step up to where we're awarding $15,000 in prize money. They're walking away with all kinds of swag of products, right? Including Yetis and Webers and everything else. And on top of that, the winners are going to receive invitations to the Junior World Food Championships this fall in Indianapolis. So a great partnership with that, and we're excited. I know that on Thursday and Friday, when those kids are competing, I think from what I keep hearing, it's going to be a who's who of pitmasters who are going to be coming out there just to hang and be with those kids and encourage them. I mean, Tuffy Stone's coming in just for that reason alone, as an example. I know you two are very supportive of the young kids competing, and I know there are other Memphis in May teams who really want to be there and help encourage the young kids and help facilitate the future Memphis in Mayors, as I like to call them.
Well, and I was actually on the phone this morning with Andrew, and he told me he was a part of it as well.
Yes.
And he said, I heard you were too, when I was talking to Kevin. And I said, yeah. And he's like, man, I'm so glad y'all are working with the kids. And I mean, like I said, it's hard to turn kids down like that. And so having create that pantry for them and all that, it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
So
we're
cool.
thrilled.
So you're the executive vice president of Memphis in May now. So what is one part of your job that you feel like that the general public or even the teams probably don't realize that you do?
Well, and I've kind of just taken it on. I don't, there's not necessarily an EVP job description, but one of the things that I've taken the lead on is partnering with other contests. Instead of us just living in a silo, we wanted to be more involved in the barbecue community. And so I just started reaching out to some individual contests. And then somebody would say, you know who you should talk to? You should talk to so-and-so over here. It's a small community. It's rather large, but it's pretty tight and small from everybody knows everybody type of situation. So really never planned on it being part of the overall scope of things, but not only have we partnered with individual contests like Spring Fest and the one in Arlington, with Brandon and Michelle, who are good friends. We've been to Vegas and Louisiana and Texas, New York, but now we've got association or partnerships with two major sanctioning bodies. One being the Rib Cook-Off Association,
Right.
which we're thrilled, and they're growing like crazy, and they're also going to start to do events overseas, like in New Zealand. Well, that fits in perfect with us being international, right? And then there's also down in Texas, the CBA and that whole barbecue alliance. And their whole mission when they formed was they wanted to help teams be ready for events like Memphis in May, the Royal, and the Jack. Well, that only makes sense that we try to work with an organization that right? And they have been embracing this partnership like incredible. They have over 200 events that they sanction now, and they're not that old. So we feel like we've hitched and created alliances with two really fast growing sanctioning bodies that will help expand our brand and kind of get the message out there that Memphis in May is also evolving, even with its rich tradition, which I think you need to do.
Right.
So that leads me into another question that I didn't even have on my sheet, Kevin.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Well, with that being said, would it ever be something now that Memphis in May actually has the room? Because those two organizations you just said requires public judging, not certified judging.
Right.
And we all know getting the public drew in. So what if Memphis in May could have a real extravaganza attached to it for a People's Choice Award? And you have teams that turn in ribs and teams that just come cook ribs on that side of it for a cheaper option.
Yeah, I think
and the public can judge that.
And we're just getting started with this. I mean, these are like 60, 90-day-old relationships, and we're in the throes.
We got till 2026 to make that happen.
There we go. It was so, right now, we're in the throes of getting ready for our competition, right? So this summer, once we get through this, we really want to go back, visit with those organizations, and get a more concrete marketing plan of how we would work together, how we would promote their contest, their winners. We kind of talked about some things, and we've done it on occasion, but we really need to fine-tune that and see what else might be available through these associations.
So the golden, what did y'all call that?
That's one of the things we need to do is come up with, right now we're just kind of presenting, here's a logo of ours and you're kind of an automatic entry, but we need to come up with a quote unquote golden ticket or something like what they do on The Voice, whatever, you're going to Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. We need to do that, and we just haven't had the chance to come up with what we're pleased with yet on it, but we will, because that's going to be part of the overall strategy, even to the point of we want to list those events on our website so that people know, can maybe even help them recruit teams to their contest. That's part of the initiative of why we want to do this. Part of the reason why a contest would want to partner. And so I really think then the next, there are so many different angles and avenues that this could lead to. Obviously, I always wear my sponsorship hat. Is there a way for a sponsor to be involved? And we never, ever want to take over And we don't see ourselves as sanctioning bodies. We don't see ourselves as event organizers. We see ourselves more of a promotional marketing partner. But that doesn't mean we may not bring a sponsor to the table who would help offset entry fees for the winner, just in that mode, not for anything else. That's kind of been in the back of our minds too as we continue to grow this.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So what you talking about all of this thinking going on and all of the planning and what it might turn to, do you feel like you even have an off season, or how early does, once the contest is over for you, how early does the next planning start?
Well, my main responsibility is sponsorships. So as soon as the event, as soon as the event is over, I'm obviously doing thank yous and recaps, all of those things for partners, right? And then I like to schedule debriefs with a lot of our major partners to find out what worked while it's still fresh in their mind, what they would do differently. And it gives me an idea of where they stand and what their mindset is, even if it's too early to do next year's deal per se. But I like, and it might plant the seed for new ideas and innovations, because if you don't start it early and you get, all of a sudden you might come up with this great idea in March and you just may not have enough time to execute it. So if they are thinking of something new and different, or if we are and we toss that to them, I want to have plenty of time for it to grow, right? So, and then when you start talking about contests, from that standpoint, there's only probably a 2 or 3 month period where it's really kind of dead, the real winter months, right? December, January. And so I think we need to be aggressive this summer looking for alliances for the 26. We already, as you all know, we already started awarding some invitations for the 26 event.
Right.
And I guess I can say I was fortunate enough to receive one of those so far. I don't know how many y'all have handed out so far.
For 2026, maybe 2 or 3. There were some that even were past our team deadline, but they knew that they were going to cover the cost of the entry. So we were able to accept the entry and hold the spot. We just didn't know what the team name was. And it was, a smaller spot that they were paying for. So, we want to be flexible on that side of it. So we probably, like I said, probably 2 or 3 for 26 that we've extended. And we'll still do what we've always done. If you're a top 10 place winner at the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest, you're guaranteed a spot for the following year.
Yeah. So how much does that cover anyway?
The
whatever you win when you win a contest, when you partner with somebody.
So here's what we've been doing. No, we've been pretty standard across the board. We're offering $250 discounts with winning a grand championship at one of the events. So, does it pay for everything?
How many of those can you stack up?
There, you see the fine. You all of a sudden you're going to start thinking about a lot of events, huh?
Well,
we did think about that, and
you're not going to have that many.
You wouldn't have that many, but we're only allowing 1 discount per team because there are going to be some events. There are some teams who are out at several different ones. So as it stands right now, that's how we're patterned.
Will you start the whole pass down thing?
Probably not going to get into pass down, but as an example,
I agree with that, Kevin.
Well,
I don't like the pass down thing.
I feel like that's
either
going to be a
you
question.
win or you don't.
Yeah,
I am 100% on that. I'm the whole.
But if you were to, I'm just asking because I feel like people are going to be curious if we were to go cook another contest and win another one, and we already have one and only one per team, then what happens?
Well, here's what we're doing with the Rib Cook-Off Association and CBA, because they have so many events.
Yeah.
Here's how we've tiered it, so to speak. So as an example with CBA, they have over 200 contests, as I said. They have 6 to 8 that have over 100 teams. Yeah. So what we did was those contests that have 100 teams or more, they automatically get an entry. All the other contests are going to go into a pool. They're grand champions, and we'll do a draw. Now, what we said we would do, since that would be, 100, it could be 190 contests. Every grand champion gets you another entry into the draw. So if you happen to win 10 of them, you've got 10 chips in there for the chance to win. So, we're looking at each one and trying to customize it and make it as fair as possible. So there's a reward for winning multiple events within that sanctioning body.
Yeah.
And
because it'd be kind of hard to give 190 spots out.
Right.
That's kind of unfeasible.
Right. And we wanted, to have the incentive for some of the larger contests.
That's right.
So that's the way to kind of balance it out.
So how many contestants are competing in the SCA so far?
We just closed it, and we had 119 entries for the SCA.
119 entries.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That is.
That is a lot.
Nope.
And they
time.
have to be associated with a team already cooking, right?
Correct. Now, a team can have more than one person enter because that's the way SCA works.
Of course.
So, unlike maybe our other ancillaries where you can only submit one entry,
right.
Here it's more the individual than quote unquote the team.
Right.
So a team can have 4 or 5 entries coming from their spot, and so we're okay with that. SCA, again, here's where we're kind of trying to be flexible, going with things change in times, and we decided not to be as rigid on that as our other ancillaries where it's one entry per. We saw how they operate and what's working, and so we decided let's adopt to that.
I feel like that's fair.
Yeah.
There were many times, it's been a while, but Heath and I both would go cooking at SCA.
Sure. Yeah. So it's by the individual from that standpoint on the SCA, but we're thrilled. 119 teams.
That is a lot. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It gives the judges something else to judge. Mm-hmm. It brings other eyes to the park. Yep. It gets other people wanting to get involved with things. SCA is a great partner, and the Rib Association. Those are 2 great partners and fast-growing organizations.
Very much.
Very fast.
They were, when I made the call to them, they just jumped at the opportunity. They've been waiting for that kind of phone call, right? Yeah. And same when I reached out to Mike McLeod with the World Food Championships, another one of our partners that we're working on doing some programming. He and I really are getting along well, and we're doing a new program with them, a little different than your traditional, still 100% food oriented, but not maybe as pitmaster focused, more culinary, just general food. And so we're calling it the Flavor Face-Off of Memphis. And we're really trying to reach, and we did work with the greater Memphis hospitality industry. We want chefs who are caterers and in restaurants and hotels. And so we're doing 5 food categories and 2 cocktail categories. So we get the mixologist in on it. And again, those people are going to get tickets to the World Food Championships. So Mike's been a tremendous partner. He's got a great team. He was excited to do something with Memphis in May, and I think it's just the start of many things that we may work on together with.
That'd be awesome. Maybe we can always get that dessert category added like we've all talked about.
I want the dessert category bad. We're just trying. We were looking at possibly doing that this year. There were so many other elements that we're doing, and we added the steak, and then it gets into some scheduling, and we're looking at everything. And when adding the junior, there's 4 different categories in the junior contest. So I would not be surprised to see dessert added maybe next year. We'll take a hard look at it, but it's the most natural category for us to add next.
Then.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. And have you been to the Jack? I may have asked that before.
No, Mac went this past year. I have not gone to the Jack.
Just to see the dessert turn-ins is worth standing at the end of the tables. I'm
sure.
right about that, Candace?
It's something to experience.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, really. And
Yeah,
even at the World Food Championship, those desserts. I won a ticket to the dessert category there before, and I wasn't able to go. Nursing school, But
let those things get in the way.
I know,
Come on,
we let it
Candace.
get in the way. But yeah, it's like a whole different level, really.
It is.
It really is. I mean,
and it is pretty cool. You can turn it in, not in a styrofoam box, right?
yes.
And
That
so
is
you
the
can bring a
exception.
whole cake up, or you can slice them or whatever separately. And a lot of people leave their cakes whole, right? Mm-hmm. And so just to see a whole beautiful presentation of a cake or a cheesecake or a pie or,
Well, and they all have their own rules. Like with the Jack, you're supposed to incorporate
Something
Jack
Jack.
Daniels. So
Right. So it would be cool to have
a
a theme
sponsor
of
or something of dessert. And
something Memphis.
No doubt. No
You know what I
doubt.
mean?
I keep thinking that there's
I won
a
the
whole
Nashville contest. It was supposed to be
you?
Nashville themed, and that's how I won my dessert.
And it was the Goo Goo cluster.
It was a homemade Goo Goo cluster
makes sense.
pie
like it.
because Goo Goos are from
You didn't
Nashville.
do one for me today?
I did not.
You hadn't made one in a long time. They're good. They're real good.
But I don't even know if you're going to get me out of retirement or if I can just request to judge that category, maybe.
Well, how do you see these new competitions like the Junior Championship and the SCA really making an overall impact on its future?
I think it only enhances what we're doing. And these contests are really growing in popularity. So, it's been a while since we've changed anything. And I thought it was time for us to add some twist from the contest standpoint. We talked a lot about all the different things from a consumer standpoint, but I think for the teams, they were looking for some new elements to be added, and they've been embraced. Obviously, just look at the number of entries in the SCA stake. And again, it also aligns us with another really good food organization. And so I think for us, strategic partnerships are really where we're focusing now, and aligning with top tier associations and events, and then just seeing where can we collaborate, right? And I think it's where the collaboration could come together, could really be interesting. And who knows what collaborations may come together in the future with other major barbecue contests. I think there's opportunities there. And in the past, nobody's ever wanted to sit down and talk about it and look, because we all get so focused in on our own. But I think there's new people involved all across the country, and I think there's chances to do some really interesting, fun, that don't take away from the current contest, but only enhance its brand and marketing opportunities.
I'm glad to see y'all taking a little bit different of I would like to say a proactive approach, right? Kind of changing with the sport itself.
Yes.
Because seeing these other organizations of one-day contests, right, and the money cost, they do good, and adding them on to what you're already doing, only makes sense, and especially when you can get more of the public involved and bring more people in and things like that. And it's always good to see an organization grow.
Yes.
At one time, y'all were sanctioning contests. What was the highest number of contests you sanctioned in a year?
I want to say it was in the 40, 50 area, if I recall correctly, because that was really right when I was starting, or maybe right before.
What year did you start?
2006.
Oh, wow, it was right in that era then, because 2007, I think, is when MBN kind of kicked off. And
Yeah,
MIM
so I
stopped
think it was
sanctioning in
I
2006.
just was there and probably, so I wasn't privy to as much of that whole decision making, but I think that set both, MBN obviously got started because of that, and then put us on a different path. And I think now, with everything else that's changing in the whole food sport category, now is the time for us to be more collaborative.
I would agree. Wow. Well, I, for one, am looking very forward to Memphis in May this year. I can't wait to really get started this week. I mean, we're finna start rolling. The park opens tomorrow. So I believe we should be 100% good. So I know it's going to be a very busy week, the rest of the week for you.
It will be. And for those who are listening, get tickets, come on out. Lots of opportunities to meet pitmasters who are doing demonstrations, including Heath, and get to try barbecue. I mean, that's the misnomer that if you don't know somebody on a team, there's nothing to do. That is no longer the case. There is lots to do, whether it's at the Home Depot outdoor kitchen, do the Cooker Caravan, Kingsford Tour Champions. I mean, there are countless opportunities to see demonstrations, meet pitmasters, and sample the creations. So I would encourage everybody to come on out. It's worth the price of admission.
That's right. And I mean, we're going to have a little bit of a sampling tent on
Yep.
the street ourselves and pass out some rub samples and maybe some wings and some pork and pork loin and things like that, and maybe some of those ribs. So we'll see how they go.
Good tease.
Well, I know we've asked Mac when he was on the podcast, and he said that he's just kind of now getting to the point of where he gets to actually go visit with teams and enjoy some food.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, do you get to do that during the contest or not really?
There is a lot of invitations, being people, barbecue. They love to be hospitable. I don't do a lot of it, especially stopping and eating. I'm doing pretty well if I'm just getting around and at least get to say hi. I feel like I've made an accomplishment there. Because my main focus is on our sponsors,
right.
I want to make sure that they're taken care of. I'm a big customer service guy. And so before anything else, I want to make sure that our sponsors are taken care of and that they're feeling the love and the appreciation that they deserve. And if there's some time to relax, that's great. But I'm not paid to have fun. I'm paid to make sure that that we're running a first-class event. So,
well, a lot of times they call you the firefighter this week, right?
Yeah,
because all you're doing is putting out different fires, right?
That's right.
Where's this light? Where's that at? Where's this? I need my tent walls.
But
those are normal
great.
questions. Right?
What's so satisfying though is when you see consumers enjoying the event, seeing the elation of the teams who get to walk the stage. People don't realize what a big deal it is to walk the stage at Memphis in May.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah, I mean, there are pitmasters who say, I don't care about the money at this contest or that contest or winning an even event at Memphis in May. What's most important is walking the stage at Memphis in May, and then you've arrived, right?
I mean, I kind of agree. It's not about the money to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
so are you saying if you win, you'll turn it back over to us?
I'm not saying that. I might need to recoup a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's really not about the money.
No.
I mean, I set a personal goal for myself years ago, and I've been fortunate enough to walk that stage many years and have walked away with 2 first-place rib trophies down there. I can't knock it no matter what happens, how it turn out and get 100th place.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter anymore. I've been very blessed and very lucky throughout the years, so we'll just see what happens.
But that's the one trophy we're missing.
That's the one.
Maybe one day. We're lucky
I mean,
enough.
it is what it is.
I mean, you got to earn it.
Yeah.
But
So
no matter what, it's going to be an interesting week at Memphis in May this week.
is.
And hope to see everybody down there. Kevin, is there any last things you want to say? Give a shout out to anybody or just say, come on and get some tickets.
If I do that, there are so many people that you're going to leave somebody out. Let me just thank our volunteers and our sponsors. And there's too many valuable sponsors and volunteers that get into names, but they make this event happen in a couple of different reasons, right? The volunteers, we only have 6 full-time people, and we have 350 volunteers signed up to help us, right? And we couldn't, and some of them are taking a week of vacation to be there to help us. Some don't even live in the area and come back to be here to help us. So the dedication that they show is absolutely incredible. And then you take 200 and plus judges who dedicate themselves to their craft of it is extremely important. And then from a sponsorship standpoint, we're at an all-time high on sponsor revenue. So, I appreciate their belief, confidence in the organization and the event itself. So to me, those individual markets, so to speak, constituencies, as you will, really deserve a huge shout out because they help us run it, produce it, finance it. So I think I'll just leave it with those groups and thank them all and look forward to an incredible World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest.
That's right. Well, we'll see y'all in a week and see who's going to win this thing. We'll see y'all next week on another episode of Shootin The Que.
If you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, please feel free to reach out to us on our social media channels. Leave us a review if you've enjoyed the show. And until next time, keep shooting the Que.